but let's move on. Republicans say newly released emails about the Benghazi attacks. Remember, just before the election in 2012 in Benghazi, Libya, Ambassador Chris Stevens, 3 other Americans killed in those attacks. They say newly released emails prove a smoking gun, prove some kind of a cover-up at the White House. What they point to is, here's one of them from Ben Rhodes, a deputy National Security Council official who works on press. Before Susan Rice went on the Sunday talk shows to explain what happened, he said the goal was to, quote, underscore that these protests are rooted in an internet video, not a broader failure of policy. Now, they had other information, Julie, at that time, people at the State Department, people at the CIA, saying this was not an indigenous protest. There may have been some protest outside, but this was a calculated, planned terrorist attack. When Republicans say gotcha, do they have a point?
I got to give CNN credit. Welcome to Give Me Five. You heard already in this hour Jay Carney tap dancing, or trying to tap dance, around the revelation of the smoking gun email on Benghazi. And I got to give CNN credit, where ABC News and NBC News, as of Wednesday, ignored this story Wednesday morning, and CBS did it, I should say. ABC and NBC ignored it. CNN addressing it with John King, and he was talking to Ron Fournier and Julie Pace, and he asked if Republicans have a point. And you want to hold on, because you might be a little shocked. Watch.
When Republicans say gotcha, do they have a point?
Well, they're certainly going to try to make that point, cast this as a smoking gun. I think for the White House, one of the biggest questions is, why were these emails that we're getting now under a FOIA request not released by the White House? A lawsuit.
A Judicial Watch, a conservative group, had to file a lawsuit to get these.
Why were these emails not released earlier? This is just going to stretch this story out further. If this is basically, it can apply to anything in a White House. If you can just get all of your information out in once, you can make the case, you know, for your position more strongly, instead of dragging this out and giving Republicans more ammunition.
Yeah. All right. Good question. Why on earth weren't these emails released? Because it is a smoking gun. Because if the White House thought this was nothing, they would have released it. Why did it take a FOIA request from Judicial Watch? Great question on CNN. And now more.
And a lot of, even some of the House Republican leadership, Ron, had been telling Chairman Darrell Issa, okay, enough. You've had enough time on this. You've spent a lot of hearings on this. Absent any new information, time to drop this and move on. Now, between now and the election, I assume, if for nothing else than the politics, Republicans are going to use this. But will the administration now be required to send up more witnesses, to send up Ben Rhodes, or to answer questions about why did you sit on these?
They should. Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I am a stickler for the truth and a stickler for fighting back against spin. And this administration, on this issue and many others, has put politics first. And that's, if there's a smoking gun here, it's the email that shows Rhodes, who working for the president, said that our goal here, our #1 goal here, is showing on the Sunday talk shows through Susan Rice that the president is strong in foreign policy. That was the goal. The goal wasn't to find out the truth and find out what happened and make sure this doesn't happen again.
Right. It's never been that. And to quote one Hillary Rodham Clinton, what difference does it make? Right? Now, this is, folks, this is such a huge, huge, huge news story that I can't tell you what would be going on in this country if this was a Republican administration and this was the revelation. You know it, and I know it. And so does John King, and so does Ron Fournier, and so does Julie Pace. And here's one more.
They put politics first, and it began to undermine their credibility, starting with Benghazi, then the IRS attacks, the IRS incident, and then, you know, with ACA, the health care, the idea that you can keep your doctor if you want to. It's this undermining of his credibility. That's what's brought down his numbers.
4 Americans are dead. There should be full transparency in such a case, and let the facts fall where they may.
4 Americans are dead. There should be full transparency. What are you hiding? Let the facts fall where they may. That's Ron Fournier and John King. And they're speaking on CNN. I mean, how did they take time to interrupt their coverage of the missing plane for this? I'm shocked. You know, by the way, breaking news, the plane is still missing. Now, not to make light of the people who perished on that plane, but you know, it's like this has become for them a Generalissimo Francisco Franco is still dead. Those of you who are old enough to watch the original Saturday Night Lives know exactly what I'm talking about. But kudos to John King and Ron Fournier and Julie Pace and CNN for allowing that conversation. I'm shocked. On the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax Television. Don't go away.